Welcome to South Florida Saltwater Fishing. I'm Heath and it's Tips and Tricks Thursday. Alright folks, so let's say you're out trolling a planer and you want to check your bait, or you're done for today and you want to reel in. Well, in this episode, I'm going to go over with you the easiest way I know of how to trip your planer from your rod so that you don't have to reel it in underneath the pressure of being set. That's right, we're going to go over the easiest way to trip a planer and reel it in so that you can check your bait. Before we get into this though, if you want to learn more about fishing, grow as an angler, or just see some great and exciting offshore fishing adventures, you can start by hitting the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. Alright folks, to start out with, if you want to be able to trip the planer from your rod so that you don't have to reel it up under pressure, you're going to need to be trolling with braid. If you're trolling with monofilament, you're not going to be able to trip your planer. What happens with monofilament is, as you practice this technique, all that's going to happen is your line is going to stretch and retract and the planer will not trip. Braid does not give, so that is what will be able to help you trip the planer with the tactic that I'm going to show you. So here's what happens. You'll be trolling and you want to check your bait, or you're done for the day and you want to reel in. You're going to slow your boat down and you're going to pull back your rod and then dip it down to let your planer go and get slack in between the leader and the planer. Just a little bit, and then you will pull it back again. If it doesn't do it, just practice it and do it a couple of times. Braid is sensitive. Any resistance from your lure, once it gets back into motion, into forward motion, will trip your planer automatically. So what you are doing is you are using the lure's resistance against the planer to trip itself. With braid, of course, that will pull the ring and trip it. Again, you're going to pull it back, get that line real tight, and then dip it down, which will put slack in your leader, and then you'll pull it back again, and that will tighten up your leader, and it should trip the planer. So with everything, this takes practice. Even the seasoned professionals, it still takes a couple of tugs and pulls to get this right. So what I'm going to do right now is take you out on the water and give you a hands-on example of how to trip a planer when you want to check your bait, or when you're done fishing and you're ready to reel it on in. This way you don't have to do it under the pressure of the set planer. Alright folks, so there's one more thing I want to explain about planer trolling and why I choose to use braid. If you are done planer trolling and you're using braid, you are able to trip the planer using braid. If you're using monofilament, it's not going to happen. So let's say I'm done for today, like I am, and I'm deciding to wind up. The planer still has pressure on it. So what I will do is I'll lock my reel up. I'm going to aim my reel directly at the planer and start giving it some tugs until I feel it trip. You don't want to reel under the pressure of a planer that's not tripped. Take it, you wind up, you come tight on it, and you pull back on it, and you'll feel it trip eventually. Now, if you're not going forward, you're going slow forward, wind down, you pull back on it, and there it went. It just tripped. Now I've got my planer up, leveled out, as if I'm just winding it on with a fish. That is why it is important to fish with a planer with braid. When you're done, you just wind it up and you're done. There's no having it consistently under pressure, having to wind it in with the stretch and the retraction of monofilament. Alright folks, so there you have it, a hands-on example of how to trip the planer. Like you saw, it took a couple of tugs and pulls to get it tripped, but not many. With practice, you'll be able to do this, and then you won't have to worry about reeling the planer up underneath pressure. It can get fairly tough the closer your planer gets underneath that pressure to get it wound up. And if you're fishing with mono, again, it's stretching and retracting all the time, thus compromising the integrity of your mono. which is why I always say you're going to want to troll with braid if you're using a planer. And remember, of course, practice makes perfect. You're not going to get this on the first try, but don't give up. It does work. Alright folks, that about does it for this Tips and Tricks episode. Hope you had fun, hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned about the easiest way to trip a planer so that you can reel it in and check your bait. Till next time, South Florida saltwater fishing, going wherever the cool wind takes us.